Okay, it's good to see you back. In this video, we're going to look at the Tools menu and these first items that are highlighted: compare, search for value, file integrity, and the squeeze command. Those last two go together quite well. So let's get started. The compare feature has quite a few options, but at the highest level, we can compare a selection in your catalog, or we could actually compare a whole DSS file to another file. And I think, as usual, let's do a demo. I'm going to pull up DSSVue, and to make it interesting, so here's a record. Let's duplicate it. So now we have this duplicate of temperature max and temperature max. Now those should be the same. Let's compare and see what the tools. So click compare, data set with options. Let's compare the actual data set. Ignore missing values, 7% difference. Well, let's allow only a 2% difference. No differences, that's what we expected. Now let's actually edit this duplicate and make it different. So I've changed that value to 950. So now we know those two are different. If we plotted it to verify, there's that value really sticks out. That doesn't show up very well. Tabulate. See how awkward that is to try to compare. Let's use the tool to compare. It says there's one value different. Let's show the table. I'm going to have to resize it so we can see it here. So it sticks out in a different color, and 950 is different than the 95 at that same timestamp. So let's compare an actual data set. Let's actually say we wanted to compare a DSS file to another file. So this is our first file, the one that's selected. Tools, compare files. I've got one here called misspelled. That's similar to the one we have, but we've been making changes, so we know there'll be some differences. So there's a lot of differences. Let's show the differences. We get a text log. If we go to the top, it tells us there's differences between the file we had open, sample 7, and the file that we compared to, the misspelled sample 7. And it's saying these records are in this first file that are not in the second file. And the ones with the OBS-2 that we created in a previous workshop, it makes sense that and again, these duplicates that we did here, so they make sense. And here's now the other perspective, records in the misspelled sample 7 that are not in this one. So that gives a really high level file comparison. Quick way to find out what happened. And so it's sort of implied there too that you'll have some backups of your DSS files. If you have a backup, it'll allow you to do these comparisons. Backups are always a great idea. Here's some more screenshots showing some comparisons with multiple records. Compare files, which we just did a demo on. So our next tool that we'll show is search for value. This allows you to, select some records and search for a number. Let's pull up our DSSVue again and demonstrate. Let's pick our maximum temperature. I'm just going to pick one record. Tools, search for value. So let's search for something kind of warm. This says Sacramento, so we know it gets over 100 within 3. Match and equal. It says it found some numbers that are greater than 100 with some tolerance there. Here they are. If I scroll down, I'm seeing more that are within that tolerance. So that's searching for a value. Another screenshot showing what we just did. This one was looking for values greater than 10. This next tool is called Check File Integrity. If you're worried that something's going wrong, or maybe you're seeing some weird error messages in the log, in the DSS log, we may not have told you about that, but if you go under Advanced, we have 2 different outputs, a console and a DSS library specific output. But this is where you might see some error messages that may concern you. And if it does concern you, we can check file integrity. This is a non-destructive command. It's just going to go study the whole DSS file and scan through it. We can look at the log and it gives some high-level statistics that it scanned through, and luckily we had no errors in this case. Now if we did have an error, we have a squeeze function that we can use, and squeeze can also be used beyond errors, but it's a way to scan through the whole file and rebuild it from scratch. And so when you work with a DSS file, over time you may have some records you deleted, and you noticed in a previous workshop there was a undelete command, or maybe there's something corrupted. Squeeze will go through and create a whole new DSS file, scan through the whole thing. When it finishes, it deletes the original file and renames just the one that it created fresh back to the original name. And so you will lose. The original file is gone. So if you have major concerns, backups really come in handy at this point as well. It also will give you a small performance improvement, because when you squeeze, the DSS internals, such as the main hash table, will be sized just right for the number of records that your DSS file has. So that's it for the Tools menu, and we'll see you in the next video. We'll go to the Advanced menu.